For those uninitiated, this is my 1975 Honda CB750 Super Sport. It's a bike that I've owned for a long time, but earlier this year I bought this huge parts lot off of a guy who was doing a really nice high-dollar cafe project and ended up abandoning it. You can see I've got some really choice upgrades already, including the front and rear suspension and the wheels and stuff. Today I'm going to install some rear sets from CognitoMoto. They're really nice pieces, though I wasn't planning to originally use them because the guy I bought the parts from was going to put this all on a dual cam 750, a 1979 to 82 bike. Mine's a 75, a single cam, so totally different frame and engine and everything. I didn't think it was going to work. However, I'm either tremendously lucky or unlucky, depending on your opinion about what I'm about to do, because he got parts for single cam. So this $600 rear set kit actually fits, or it will, with some modifications. Let's take a look at the parts themselves. Now, to reiterate, I bought this stuff used, so I can't say with absolute certainty, but this, I'm pretty sure, is the single cam CB750K rear disc brake conversion brackets with the master cylinder, as well as their universal rear set foot pegs, a offset shifter arm, and a shift linkage kit. All in, I think this stuff retails for like $600 US, which is a ton of money, but it is all CNC machined out of billet aluminum in the USA by a small business, which, that earns a lot of points in my book. I will say I'm not affiliated with these dudes beyond buying some parts from them over the years. But it seems like pretty high quality stuff. You can see I get a little wear from where I've test fit this stuff already, but it seems like fairly durable, nice stuff. The brackets themselves use the swing arm mounting bolt and the lower engine mounting bolt in order to attach to the frame, which means no welding or drilling holes or anything. That's pretty nice. I will say one issue that I do foresee is that because it has to mount like this using the swing arm bolt, you're going to have to remove the swing arm in order to take this piece off, since you're going to have to pull this bolt out in order to get this off, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but I mean, I guess that's a sacrifice that you make for an easy installation. The foot pegs and levers all mount using just one bolt on the other side of the bracket, like back here. You can see they rotate pretty easily. I think that they're on a bearing or something. And this arm here that the linkages connect to can be adjusted using these two Allen head bolts back here. Okay. You can see that the levers themselves have a couple different hole locations there, so you can get a ton of very small adjustments to this. And that's nice because, that means you can set this up to suit your height or inseam or whatever. If you've got longer legs, you're going to want the foot pegs in a different position versus a short guy. I have one really big issue though, and that's that these conversion brackets are meant for a CB750K. That's the standard model with a drum brake in the back. I have a CB750F, the Super Sport, which has a few kind of substantial differences over the regular model. So the crux of the issue is this. Here is the left side of the frame, the shifter side, and you can see here is the passenger peg bracket, this triangle of metal. You can see it's pretty much in line with the frame, and I'll have no trouble bolting the new rear set bracket right up to it. It's the right side where my trouble begins, because as you can see, this bracket right here sticks out from the line of the frame, which means it's in the way of my rear set bracket. The reason why it works on the K model and not the F model is because the F model has a rear disc brake instead of a drum brake. This bump out here was made to accommodate a big old bracket to hold the rear master cylinder. So long story short, in order to get the rear set bracket that I have to work on this bike, I have to remove the passenger peg bracket. Not much I can do about that. I think had these brackets not worked, I probably would have come up with a different solution, one that would have allowed me to bring this back to factory if I desired, because I mean these things are getting a little more collectible these days. But I have the parts, they're gonna work, and so I'm gonna use them. Sorry guys. One thing that I will do first is remove like the rear wheel and swing arm, suspension, whatever, so that I don't, you know, destroy them trying to remove this bracket. All right, we're about ready to begin. I wanted to use my portable bandsaw to do this, but it's a little too bulky to fit in, so we're going full hipster with the angle grinder on this one. Now, I've kind of gotten away from using these things in the past few years because they're messy and imprecise and a little dangerous, I guess. But I have to admit that on occasion they are the tool for the job. This stuff I will grind down once I take the whole bike apart. I'm a little worried about, you know, nicking the inner fender liner, which I am planning to keep. And down here, I have to get this essentially flush, so we're gonna remove the cutting wheel and put on the grinding wheel. Well, we are committed now. At the end of the day, it's just stuff. There's more pressing stuff in the world. There's more pressing things in the world to be concerned about than what some dude does to his old Honda. So, that all said, let's get this stuff bolted up, and we'll see if it was worth it. So part of the reason that I'm making this video is because I don't think that there's anything about fitting these Cognito rear sets on a Super Sport. And I looked, and I wanted to give you guys my impressions of, you know, what I thought about the product. I'm not affiliated with Cognito. These pieces are expensive, but they're made in the USA by a company that's privately held and seems pretty reputable amongst the community anyway. So, you know, I want to install these and let you decide whether you think that they're worth the money. So I've run into an issue putting the rear sets on. You can see they're in place, but you can see it's kind of kicked out to the outside there. And that is because it is hitting right here where this bracket that holds the kickstand on is welded to the frame. I'm assuming that on the K model, the kickstand is probably like further forward. Maybe the peg placement's different, I don't know. But I'm gonna have to remove a little material either from the frame or from the rear set bracket. It's about 90 thou or 2.3 millimeters that I'm gonna have to remove. And so I think I'm gonna take it from the back of this bracket here rather than mess with the frame again. Everything on the other side looks good. After some figuring, this little blue area is where I'm going to remove the material. I'm going to throw this thing on the Bridgeport mill. But I get work in the morning, so I'm going to do this tomorrow. All right. Good night, or good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. You know, it's actually one of those things, I really like it when people sign off like, hey, greetings from Scotland or Malaysia, Japan, whatever. So let me know where you're at. Well, there's my Bridgeport. You can see I've got the bracket mounted up in the vise. I'm just going to take a little material off of this corner right here. All right, so you can see the whole area that I removed material. Now, obviously, you guys do not need a milling machine in order to do this sort of thing. You could do it with a grinder or even a hand file, I guess. In fact, I feel a little silly having a Bridgeport and buying and using these when I could just make it. But it was part of the big parts lot, like I said, so I'm gonna go ahead and use them. Let's see how this fits. Well, good news and bad news. We've got the piece on, and we've got clearance right there, but unfortunately, we're hitting the passenger peg frame. It's kind of just the nature of this stuff, so it's had to come off anyway, and I guess I'm doing it now. Bracket, gone. I also ended up taking another like 30 thou off the back of this because I found it was a little kicked out. But I think it's time to bring it home. Hopefully this is the last of it. these down, but I mean, that feels pretty good. Does the CognitoMoto single cam CB750K rear disc brake conversion bracket fit the CB750F Super Sport? And the answer to that is yeah, with some modifications. I mean, you didn't need this video to tell you that. The website says it. But it doesn't tell you what needs to happen, and I found that you have to remove the passenger peg brackets and clearance the left-hand side, either taking material off of the rear set bracket or the kickstand mount on the frame. Overall, it wasn't too difficult. If I didn't film this video, I could have knocked that out in just a couple of hours. Now, there are a couple things that I'm going to watch out for, namely the rear engine mount bolt seems a little short. I can't fit the lock washer on there, so I'll either have to use thread locker or find a nylock nut or something. I don't know if the K model bolt is longer or something. I'm not sure. I don't have one to compare. Also, you'll need a thin wall socket in order to tighten up the swing arm mounting nut. It's kind of recessed into the bracket and it's hard to get at. I think it's a 23 millimeter. The other question that I was hoping to answer was, are these worth the money that they're asking for them? And I think that answer depends pretty heavily on your fabrication skill level and what kind of tools you have available. If you have access to a welder or a mill or a lathe, I think that you could get a pretty similar result for a lot cheaper, assuming you can put in some elbow grease and some time. For example, a few years ago, I put a set of Vortex adjustable rear sets from a CBR 1000 onto a dual cam CB750 Super Sport. I turned some threaded inserts on a lathe, drilled some holes in the frame, stuck them in there, welded it all up, and it worked great. Last I checked, those rear sets go for like $400, but you can get OEM takeoffs on eBay for pretty cheap. However, I get it, most people don't have access to that kind of equipment, in which case, I think that these could be installed pretty easily using just some hand tools and an angle grinder. I'm going to have to wait until I finish the rest of the bike to test out the actual usability of these things, but the fit and finish is great. I don't have any doubt that they're going to work as intended. I do kind of wish that there was an option for like a heel plate, and I'm also not a big fan of the rear master cylinder placement. Like, I wish they hadn't put it really like front and center here, maybe set back a bit or something, but considering this is supposed to be a completely bolt-on affair, I get why it's placed where it is. Now, I do think that moving the foot pegs back is vital for pretty much any cafe racer project. I am speaking from experience when I say that low handlebars and stock foot pegs are a pretty uncomfortable ride that frankly looks kind of silly from the outside. So if you have the cash and you're looking for something that like goes together with a minimum of fuss, even on a Super Sport, I think you could do a lot worse than these pieces. So hey, thanks for sticking around. I hope you found that informative or entertaining, maybe both. In the next one, I think I'm going to tackle the electrical. That'll be fun.